112, party people in a place to be. Welcome to another amazing art talk with your host, Brimstone 127, the Miami edition. Tonight we have a wonderful, amazing guest, DJ TMS, one of Miami's old school kings who started writing in 1983. Around the same time he got into DJing, in 1988, he hooked up with Graffiti Crew. During this time, he was involved in the Miami bass and hip-hop music scene as a mix show DJ at Rhythm 98 and dropped classes like The Skeezers, Low Riding Bass, and Bass Town, Bass Town with the Party Rock Crew. His passion for art morphed into 3D animation, which he has now been teaching for nearly 2 decades, along with game art. Yo, party people in the place to be. Without further ado, please welcome the one and only DJ TMS, y'all. What up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up, what up?
What's up, everybody?
T is in the place to be. Yo, you got so much history. I mean, I just feel like we just got to jump right in and let the people know, man. First of all, where you representing, where you coming from, my brother?
Well, right now I'm in West Palm, man, but you know me, I'm the 305 till I die, bro.
305 till I die, let's go.
Homestead.
This is the original old school king. So you're looking at a comic strip that he created. I know y'all probably can't read it. It says the gym is on the 3rd floor next to the pool. Remembering the old days.
Yeah, that was a trick the seniors used to play on freshmen when they came to the school the first time. Homestead Senior High, man, back in '86. Well, I graduated in '86. I think I did that in like '84.
So this is 19. Okay, bet that up. So we're looking at real early Homestead graffiti. We know nothing about it, brother. School us and tell us what this is and what's going on.
Okay, so this was a wall that was back. I forget the exact street number, but this was back around 308 Street, Homestead. And this was a wall that people would tag up back then, man. This was like, geez, I think that was like 1982, 81. 82. And that was done before I even knew what graffiti was. That was like a time before I even knew what hip hop was. And I saw that and I was like, yo, this is dope. I like this stuff. What is that? So I looked into it more and started discovering stuff, and I hooked up with people from school. And yeah, 1984. That was a cat named Anibal. He's the one that did most of that stuff. He did that, and he did the Laz Loves Dawn.
So was he like was he a mythical legend? Did people actually know who he was? Were you down with him?
No, I actually never met him. I didn't know him. He went to the same school, and I don't know if he was, I mean, I would assume he was from New York at the time or whatever, but he was just some cat that was out there tagging, and he inspired like a lot of other people. And after those pieces went up, that whole wall, that was like the Homestead Wall of Fame after a while. So people started getting up and doing pieces, and then they turned into burners, and they were tagging sidewalks there, so breaking.
And so was breaking and like b-boying large in Homestead like it was in Miami?
Yeah, definitely. We had some crews down there, man. We would, in fact, at our high school, on lunch break, there was a back like bagels and slushies, and everybody was.
You?
And they would breakdance in that room. So they held like little hour-long breakdance sessions.
And so all of this is popping off in Homestead. This is 84. You think, how was it inspired by Beat Street? Who were the people that were getting up at this time?
Well, those guys right there, that was it, man. And Nebel, I think this is Vincent. He turned, what's his last name? I forget his last name, but I think he's the same Vincent that became Wisdom later, who was part of what was that crew? Grand Force Posse.
Okay.
He became, I think that's the same Vincent, if I'm not mistaken. I could be wrong.
And for those of us out here that don't know, why is Grand Force Posse important?
Grand Force Posse was a group that came along in the late 80s, early 90s, and they put out a record on Boomtown. It was a little while after me and MC Lace put out a record called Now It's Our Turn, is under Organized Crime. And They put out a song called Grand Force Posse, and it was a pretty cool little tune that they put out. It made some noise locally. Um, but yeah, it was, we were like one of the two people in Homestead that actually went out and did some stuff or whatever, and made some noise on the music scene. This is the sketch piece that was on the corner. This came I think around 88, 87, 88. This one I know was definitely after I got into AIM Crew.
Big up AIM Crew. So was Sketch a writer that you were down with?
Sketch I didn't know either, man. I didn't know a lot of cats, honestly, from Homestead. I knew of them. Most of them, like I said, we went to the same school. Yeah, that's Wisdom. That would be the Vincent. So you can see his style picked up immensely by then.
And were Miami writers or Cutler Ridge writers getting up down at Homestead? AIM Love, what up, Mech?
Say what?
Were Miami writers and Cutler Ridge writers getting up in Homestead back in those late 80s?
At this time, no. It was all just Homestead cats. I don't think anybody from up north came down till like the 90s when they discovered we were actually doing stuff down there.
And so who would you say was the writer that really helped bridge Homestead to Miami, or at least to Cutler Ridge?
The Cutler Ridge? Cutler Ridge, I think, was, what was his name? Glove. Cat named Glove. I know he was doing a lot of stuff from Cutler Ridge all the way up to South Miami. He did that piece on when they were first building Town and Country Mall. He did the ATBO, piece. And at the time, he was hooked up with the cat that actually got me into graffiti. His name was Master Ice, who later on went on to become a cat in New York. He called himself DJ Outlaw. He's passed away since then. Rest in peace, my brother. But yeah, he's the one that mainly got me into graffiti, because I was going around, like I said, looking at the stuff at Homestead, and then I met him in school, and he was from New York. He was from Sheepshead Bay, New York, and he knew like a lot of the old graffiti stuff back there. So he's the one that kind of got me involved with that. And then I would practice with him. We would go out tagging and bombing in Homestead. And he knew Glove, who at the time went by Beer. I think he was writing Beer at the time that he met him. Mm-hmm. So he was privy with all the New York stuff back then. And we did a lot of stuff in Homestead, man, me and him, all the way up to Cutler Ridge. I think it was actually up to Kendall. But a lot of that stuff I had photos of, and I lost all of it in Hurricane Andrew. So yeah. Here with my stuff, that's all I got from that era, man.
Wow. Well, for those of you that are just joining us, y'all, we are live with DJ TMS representing Homestead, AIM Crew. We're going to learn a lot, Miami-based pioneer. We're going to learn a lot about his career, but take us right here. I mean, this is that Create in 88 piece, right? Tell us who you met at this wall and why this piece is so important to you. And where is this?
Important to me, not because I didn't have anything to do with this piece. But that was, I think, the day after they finished it. And I was hanging out with Nor 9 back then. And he goes, yo, you got to come up and meet my boys, AIM Crew. I told them about you, and they were down. They wanted to meet you or whatever. So we hauled ass up there, and they were all taking pictures of this piece. And that was the day they put me down with AIM Crew. Right.
Nice. So who was in AIM Crew at the time?
It was Seal, of course, Solo, I think Penn, Vote, Enemy, Mir, Mech, and Even.
Wow. So, and Even was from Cutler Ridge, right?
Even was from Cutler Ridge. Mir was from Cutler Ridge, I think, too, yeah.
Absolutely. So were they part of bridging that Homestead to Miami gap, you think?
They probably were, but honestly, man, I didn't know them till I got into AIM, bro.
Okay, got it. So this is one of your pieces when you're down with AIM. Where is this piece?
This is at the Miami, the Hialeah pennant. No, not the Hialeah.
Okay. Big, and here it says, "Happy birthday," again in '87. up top there. Oh,
I
there it is.
don't know if I wrote the happy birthday thing. But that was definitely TMS. Yeah, this is the same place, same.
Right. So, yo, for those of you that are just joining us, this is the Master Scratch, Too Much Soul. Please show your support in the Museum of Graffiti by picking up a badge. Those funds help us continue to tell this story and document Miami's history. So, T, like, where did you get your style from? Who mentored you in your letters and in your characters?
Oh, well, Master Ice, like I said, me and him were doing a lot of stuff, just black book mainly. So I developed, style, just kind of looking at other people's stuff. I did what everybody else did. I bit a little bit here, bit a little bit there, and put it all together and made it mine. But yeah, I kind of honed my skills doing that.
Mm-hmm. And
this was a little tiny wall off US 1 up in Coral Gables. I think it was up on
off of the train?
some auto part store, some collision store or something.
Okay. And this right here, man, this is just the burner of burners. I mean, this was the Love House. Tell us about your experience there. Who was there painting that night? What was that place like?
Under the train, actually. You had to be driving US 1 to see it, and you had to be looking up there to see it. That's how.
Yeah, I think we're getting bad connection. Yeah, I'm back.
Okay. My video's all kind of weird.
So this piece here, this is the Love House. This is in Seal's neighborhood, Ked's neighborhood, Damn Crew, Aim Crew in the building. What was this wall like? Who collaborated with you on this piece? And this was a legendary place to hang out. What's this about?
This was just one piece out of the many that we did that night. I think we all did our own pieces that night. So nobody did that one with me. I think maybe somebody might have helped me with some fills, but this one was all me. Then I think a Seal piece was next to that. I forget who was out there then.
There was a Dunn piece, a Doze piece.
Okay.
Who else was out there? Y'all drop them in the chat because my mind is out there. Yeah, but this was just a legendary piece. Big up, Nicer. Thank you so much. You're a legend picking up a badge. We appreciate your support for real. And so, Aim Crew, y'all were like the top crew in the Southwest. Did you find that other people were jealous, were coming out touring your pieces? Did you ever get involved in any sort of beef around that kind of stuff?
I won't say we had like a lot of beef. The biggest beef I can remember was when AIM split and half the members went off and created Who Crew. That was
Got it.
I can remember back then.
Okay.
But I don't think, we didn't really have a lot of beef with anybody. I think we were down with most crews back then. We just wanted to go out in peace and stuff. But, toys will be toys, and they want to toy your piece, they'll toy your piece regardless.
And I mean, Seal was a mastermind when it came to just putting together pieces, right? In terms of just his organization skills. What was it like to be under the leadership and guidance of someone like Seal? What was Seal like?
Seal was the Gestapo, man, of fucking graffiti. I'm sorry, man, of graffiti, dude. He definitely had vision. He still has. He's wanted AIM Crew to be the best crew in the. And
Sorry, we're losing a little bit there. You hear me, T? You hear me?
I hear you.
You were saying that Seal was like the Gestapo and he wanted AIM Crew to be the best.
Yeah, so Seal had a vision for AIM. He wanted AIM to be the best crew in Miami. That's why a lot of the stuff, that was being done back then was more burners rather than just straight pieces.
Mm-hmm. I mean, this was the AIM All City Rooftop, which got pieced a few times. So how did y'all work together on it? Who planned the production? This is all illegal graffiti back then. What was that experience like?
This was definitely a fun one for me, man. We had been planning this wall for a while, and I forget what the occasion was or whatever. If it was just a weekend, but we was like, "Yo, let's finally do it." And I think at the time there were a few people that couldn't make it, which is why there was only a couple of us doing it. But we went out there. It was like 1, 2 o'clock in the morning. No traffic on the highway there, so you know everything was quiet. And we got up there and we got to business. The thing about this piece though is the only sketch I remember was for the AIM piece. I think everything else we made up on the spot.
Nice, nice. So Seal Solo TMS, money making, women taking, AIM Crew 1988, never faking. I mean, we got to show y'all some love, top to bottom, end to end burners, all city.
So that was a cool piece though, man.
No doubt.
Posse influence in those characters too.
And this is a big piece. So this wall that still exists, it's off this piece is not there anymore, but it's right off of the highway right before Bird Road if you're traveling north on your north side of the highway. And that wall is still there.
Yeah. Right across from Tropical Park.
Yep, right by Tropical Park. That's right. I mean, there's that all city. Yeah. Definitely. Big up AIM Crew and your contribution to Miami's hip hop culture, man. It's not a game. Excellent, excellent. I mean, these characters, just everything about it, you know? Yeah. Themed pieces.
Solo did the AIM. I think Seal did the all city, or it might have been the other way around. And then I did all the characters, the Black Book, the train, and the barricade there.
So, and so here's another one. Tell us about this piece. It was actually seen on the TV show Burn Notice.
This is the last piece I ever did. This was in 2006. I was hanging out with Seam that day, and he's like, "Yo, let's go hit up this warehouse, man, the Fast and Furious warehouse." So I'm like, "Bet, let's go." So we went inside and we met Seam there, and they were all doing some stuff inside. And when I was walking through, I was like, "Yo, there's nothing on the outside. Why is everybody doing everything on the inside?" So me and Seam went out and started doing stuff on the outside there, and then Seam come up and hit the one on the left. It was like, let's do a connect burner. So when we did that, like I said, there was nothing. Everything there was blank. And then, you know, after a while, everybody did something. But, you know, one day my boy calls me up. He's like, "Hey, I just saw your piece in a movie." I'm like, "No way." So, yeah, this is from a movie called Burn Notice. And that was a weekly series that came out, and they filmed a lot of the scenes in Miami. And they happened to come right out that door and right up my piece, and you can see all that stuff is just centered in those shots. So I was like, "Oh yeah, bet it up." So I thought it was pretty cool, and that was my last piece.
Nice. So Burn Notice, you got Hollywood fame, all city for sure, all state, all nation, no doubt. So you are a Miami-based hip hop homestead pioneer, very much involved in the game. I've heard of you, you know, as a DJ for years in your production, and I grew up on some of your records. So let's talk a little bit about what we see the most famous hip hop duo of all time, well, trio at this time, right? Run DMC. Where is this, and where are we? What year is this, and what's going on?
So this is God, it's got to be 1986. I was still in high school at the time, and this is Run DMC performing at the Beat Club. This is their one time they came down to a small, tiny little club like the Beat Club down here. After that, it was all the big arena stuff, Fresh Fest and all that. But yeah, that's when they came down. I didn't personally take that picture, but I'm in that crowd somewhere.
Can you describe to someone that's never been to the Beat Club what it's like from the moment you walk in? What do you see on the walls? What music do you hear? What's that experience like?
Oh man, I could sum it up in one word: history. You walk in there and it was like, you know, when it's your first time ever doing something, you get this feeling that's like, oh, this is the best thing I've ever seen, I've ever done. So you walk in there and it's a tiny little, and they had the entrance wall painted like, they had a big octopus tentacle. And this was before, I think, the Beat Street came out. So, you know, that was done way before they even showed that scene in Beat Street walking in the Roxy. And then you walk in the bathroom and Seven Sims from ATBO, I think, did the bathroom up, all graffiti. And then the sound system there was splitting. And when those beats hit hard, man, you felt it in your chest because the speakers were right there on the dance floor. They didn't have them hanging in the ceiling. They had big cabinets on the dance floor. So tiny little place. The sound was great. You walk in and you see B-Boy Speedy Legs and his crew back then doing head spins and break dancing and stuff. And Mohammed Moretta was the DJ there. And after a while, you know, I hang out there so much and got to know him. I did a couple of nights there with him as a backup DJ, and he would go on break and let me spin. So that was pretty cool. And after that, I went off with him, Skylight Express, and then that turned into stardom after that. So
yes, yo, Town and Country, Skylight Express. If you were in Kendall, you know what time it is. That place was crazy. This is the Beat Club, man. Nothing but legendary B-boys, B-girls coming out of that spot, 9843 Burr Road. But we take it now to the, I mean, you're listening to Groove Miami, Rhythm 98.8. I mean, Rhythm 98, T, what were you getting into over there?
So Rhythm 98 for me started with just a phone call. You know, I was listening to them, you know, they were known, obviously. But one night, you know, they're doing a mix show. I'm like, you know, and I was well into DJing already and stuff. I'm like, man, it'd be cool if I can do a mix show or something, or at least send them a tape. So I called him up, and it was the Groovin' Cuban, Tony Rodriguez. And I was like, yo, can I send you guys a mixtape? I got mixtapes or whatever. And they're like, yeah, definitely send it on up. So instead of sending it, because they were in Cutler Ridge, not too far, I went there. And I showed them the tape and dropped them off and left them my phone number. And they listened to them. And a couple of days later, they called me back going, hey, you want a spot on Saturday nights? I was like, dope, definitely. So I started DJing there with Raymond Hernandez and oh man, I can't remember the names, but a lot of classic DJs. Six now came out that little hole in the wall, man.
Yeah, and this was right off of you. It was right off of US1. I remember I won I think it was a UTFO record. So I actually drove down to Cutler Ridge and went up to that office space and got it. It was deep in Cutler Ridge, right after I think 200th Street, right?
Yeah, right across the street from Cutler Ridge.
Cutler Ridge Mall. Yep. Oh, excuse me. Oh, hold on. What's this intro sound like, T? Can we get a little taste of that?
Intro to that?
Yeah.
Yep. Talking about that?
Yeah. What was it like working on this record and going into it?
This record came across by accident. I was doing mixtapes, like I said back then. I was playing around with like different voices, and I was hooked up with Mikey C at the time. He was kind of upcoming Miami producer back then, and he heard it one day. He goes, "Yo, I like that, man. We should do a track with those kids." So I was like, "Okay, cool, let's do it." So he did the drum programming. I wrote the lyrics to it. And we went to, I can't remember the name of it, but Tolga and PJ. Yeah, there you go. They had a studio in Miami somewhere. And so we went there and recorded it. And at the time, in fact, when I was recording it, the session for me, Stevie B was there recording Part of Your Body. And that thing became a huge. So
did people show you love, like, for you putting out records here in Miami, up against Luke and all these other artists? Were you getting shown love? Were you being discriminated against because you were white? Did you ever experience vibes like that?
Oh, always, man. but I got both ends, you know. So I wasn't like, these were more niche records, I guess you'd say. They, you know, the low running bass was, you heard it mainly on Rhythm 98. I think maybe once or twice you probably heard it in the mix on Power 96 or something. Basstown, that became a, you know, a major player in Miami, at least for, you know, it became Miami's theme song for a while. But we didn't have the popularity that like Luke had or anything like that. So it wasn't any kind of stardom like that. It was just local fame or whatever. And it's like big ups, you know, oh, you're TMS, you did that record. But definitely on both sides, I got, you know, I got a lot of, I would do parties and people would come up to me and go, yeah, they're playing the right music, but they got the wrong DJ to play it. But, you know, it is what it is.
And so who's in this flick right here?
So that's MC Lace on the left. He was my partner with Organized Crime on Boomtown. And that's DJ Mohammed Moretta. And we were on the stage at Skylight Express. And we were performing that night with Party Rock Crew. We did Organized Crime. Now It's Our Turn. And then I stayed on to DJ for Party Rock Crew for Basstown.
So, and that was the ultimate team club. For those of you that don't know, Kendall, it was crazy. It was off the hook. Okay, and so you also started working on airbrushing. What was the difference transitioning from spray paint to airbrushing? And as we look through some of your pieces, just feel free to talk about your techniques.
So airbrushing came along because I saw, what were they called? Shirt Kings from New York. I saw a lot of their stuff being done. That was back in the early 90s. They were really big. So you saw a lot of stuff coming out of New York from Shirt Kings, and they would do, you know, all the big rap groups and stuff. Run DMC shirts done or sweats done. Big Daddy Kane had some stuff. So I'm like, well, yo, that stuff. Let me pick up an airbrush and start trying it. So my parents actually got me the airbrush, and then I found some place in Miami that sold T-shirts by the bulk. And I just started practicing. I went through a lot of T-shirts before I was like, okay, I'm probably good enough to start putting stuff out. But yeah, one day the whole crew come down, did them all shirts. I can't remember for the life of me who this was.
So were you posted up at a flea market, or were you just doing it out of your house?
I had a very thin at a market. The problem back then was I had a really loud compressor that would blow the fuses all the time. So they kicked me out of there real quick. But yeah, I did that. That one's for Eddie Mix from BPM Records. He had a record store. Where was it? By FIU or FAU? No, somewhere off the Bird Road area somewhere. He became a big DJ on Power 96, and then that one.
Yeah, the rhythm rocker, Funk Box. I mean, he played such an important role in helping Miami's hip hop scene grow. He hosted so many artists, including my crew, just to come down for interviews, freestyle, play our music. You know, late night, Saturday night, the Funk Box. What was your vibe like with the rhythm rocker?
I hooked up with Rhythm Rocker the same way I hooked up with Rhythm 98. I called, you know, listened to his show. I found his show. People were talking about it, so I started listening. I called him up and go like, "Hey man, I'm a DJ. Can I bring you some mixtapes?" He's like, "Well, we don't really do mixtape stuff, but you can come by." So I went up one night and saw the studio and hung out with him, and we vibed. And I would go up there every week for a couple weeks. I think I was up there maybe for about a year, and then I think they shut the show down shortly after that. DJ Domination.
I mean, world famous, world champion DJ Domination right here.
He likes to think so. That was from my boy Crush up in Jacksonville. Yeah, we do a lot of the big stuff, and then and I went through that bad era of starting to sequence everything too. After BBD came out with those sequence jumpsuits. So kind of glad I don't have pictures of that stuff.
And I know, so yo, for those of you that are just joining us, you are rocking live with DJ TMS, Homestead, Miami, Pioneer. He was known for bass and also for his cars. I mean, the first day I think I ever met you, TMS, we were taking a ride out to Key Biscayne, and Seal, who is in this photo right here, right on top, he's like, I'm riding with TMS, he got the bass. That's what I remember about T. He's like, TMS got the bass, I'm riding with T, and he was shotgun. It was TMS and Seal, and then all of us were in the car just following suit. You know what I mean? So you were known for the bass and the cars. What's your connection with cars and music and that culture?
So around 1990, 91, I had that car. It wasn't souped up like that, but it got in an accident, and then I got it painted white and had some money saved up, and I filled the whole back with. Kind of got into the car scene from that. So after I had that and doing the T, this friend of mine from Homestead, he goes, "Hey, do you think you can, airbrush a mural for me under my, hood?" So I can try. So this was the very first car I painted. That piece.
Go ahead. Sorry. Go ahead.
That piece still exists today. In fact, I think that's the only mural of mine that I did on a car that exists now. Then, after that, I was like, okay, now I'm hooked. So I started painting, neighborhood kids' cars, and this was my sixth tray back in 96, 95, 96. I had that. So I hooked that up, did a little
with the shell toe,
painted
with the
bottom,
shell toe
painted
Adidas.
Everything inside, interior. So then I got into, a couple rider bikes to do, or bike frames anyway. So I, chop them and slice them up and paint them up and fill them up, and they go off. And a lot of this stuff went off in of first place trophies. This was at a lowrider show in Miami in 96, 97.
And so do you still do this kind of work? Are you still available for hire to do this kind of work? If I wanted a car painted, a bike painted?
I could probably do murals and stuff, but as far as full paint jobs, I don't do that anymore.
Mm-hmm.
I had to bow out after a while from that because it was messing with my lungs. Morning I'm waking up and I'm like, I can't breathe, and went to see the doctor, and they're like, yeah, man, you're getting it was like filling up with fluid. So they're like, do you paint? You do anything with any sort of this like, yeah, I'm a painter. They're like, yeah, well, you gotta stop.
Wow. So how did you feel at that time when they told you the thing you're most passionate about and you love, you have to give it up?
You kind of weigh your options, man. It's either keep painting and die, or live at least, live long enough to see the results of some of this stuff.
Mm-hmm.
But this was a car I did 96. A friend of mine in the same car club at the time, Late Night Creations. No, Low Life. Sorry, I was in Low Life at the time. Mexican Low Life. What's up, Homestead? So yeah, we did the whole car, top and bottom. We painted most of it, either at my house or his house, and then we did the full paint job in a professional booth. But most of that car was painted outside in the backyard.
And could you, on a car with airbrush, if you made a mistake, can you buff like the same you can with spray paint, or it's a lot more difficult to cover up mistakes?
It's more difficult because a lot of that was candy tints. So I don't know if you know what candy tints are, but they're a transparent paint, and if you mess that up, it's not easy to cover up. So solid paints is easy, but candies is not.
All right. So yo, this is DJ
So this is
TMS.
what I pop up on 7.
Go ahead, T.
Yeah, I had a little paint shop on 79th Street, right behind Red's Hydraulics, for Miami Lowriders. I do, people would bring me their cars, I'd paint them up, doing murals and stuff on them.
Mm-hmm.
So yeah, this was what back when, you know, the lowrider scene was real big in the mid '90s. This is a truck called Clownin'.
And would you come up with the themes, or would the your client come up with the themes for the cars?
They come to me with the ideas.
Mm-hmm.
Like this guy, he was in my car club. He's like, "Yo, I want to do the leprechaun, and I want, you know, where's me gold on the bottom?" But they just, you know, they come up with the ideas. I draw everything else on the cars.
And how is a car club different from like a graffiti crew?
We didn't paint things illegally.
I hear that.
No, you know, it's just a bunch of enthusiasts, man. Everybody had cars, and we'd get together once a week. We'd meet. We'd do car shows. So it wasn't too much different. I mean, you know, same basic concept, just a different genre.
And was hip hop like a real big part of that movement as well, the culture?
Not so much. I mean, aside from, you know, people had the bass systems in their cars,
Mm-hmm.
the bass and all that stuff. But other than that, no, it was just car enthusiasts. And that truck that you just showed, that one went on to, yeah, that one right there. That was in the movie. Oh shoot, the Substitute.
Word. Okay.
Became a substitute teacher in Miami. So that scene, it was bouncing in the background with hydraulics.
And do you know how to set up the hydraulic systems as well?
Okay, did all my own stuff.
Word.
Do all that.
Customization.
Pay somebody else to do it.
And so T, we now move into like your digital artwork. Is that correct?
So now, you know, because I couldn't paint anymore, I had to find another avenue. Whatever. So I was like, okay, well, I was dabbling in Photoshop at the time. I wasn't like heavy into it, but I used it quite a bit. And I decided I'd go to school for it and learn 3D animation. So throughout all that, you know, Photoshop was a big staple in it. And basically digital was the next step for me to go. So this is in a program called Kingspray Graffiti. It's in VR.
I mean, a lot of it almost looks like a photograph. There's some parts of it, you know, it really does look like it's a real piece on the wall.
Yeah, it looks, you know, looks realistic. DJ Debonair, we did his album. That Breezy one you saw, I redid that cover. That was a classic cover from the Man. So they're like, yeah, we want to, but you know, Miami style or whatever. So I did that one.
And so Debonair was a label, correct? Studio. Can you tell us a little bit about that connection?
Debonair was a DJ, or is a
Okay.
DJ, but he had his own record label called Debonair Records, and he put out a lot of the Miami bass hits that you probably familiar with.
Mm-hmm.
So you know, ended up working with him through the music scene, and he knew I did graffiti and stuff, and he's like, yo, can you maybe do an album cover for me? I'm like, sure. There's some ideas out. What you want?
And here we see, you know, you're the summer stage celebrating 40 years of hip hop culture. We saw DJ Eclipse a moment ago. What was this event and what was this about?
So yeah, this is the 40th anniversary of hip hop, which was a freaking huge deal, you know. And it was at the summer stage in New York City, and I knew Eclipse at the time. I forget how I knew him. Oh no, I did a little tag for him. But he was like, "Yo, I'm in charge of lining up the music, and they need an artist to do the brochure." So I was like, "Bet, I'll do it."
And that's DJ Eclipse. I mean, world-renowned DJ right there.
DJ Eclipse is famous in New York. He's had the 15-year running Rap is Out of Control show on WNU. There in New York. College radio too. Not even like big time radio, but now he does a weekly thing every Sunday on satellite radio.
And you, as a DJ, started getting more involved in the clubs on the beach, like Buck 15, with DJs like Tom LaRock, Craze, Coupe de Ville, my man. What was that? Roll Up Records. I mean, this is classic hip hop history.
Dinosaurs and shit, man. Nope, I'm getting a circle.
Roll Up, rest in peace, man.
Flavor
Station. Yep, go ahead.
Roll Up was this, he was a big promoter for a lot of the hip hop stuff down here in Miami, and he hooked up with everybody. So he's like, okay, I got all these spots, I got all these things, I need a graphic designer. When I was doing, I did all his flyers for him. I did his pamphlets. I did whatever he needed. He's like, yo, T, hit me up. And a lot of the stuff that you saw coming out for the clubs back then for those hip hop spots were where if he had a hand in it, that was my artwork on it.
And did you spin at any of them spots?
I did a couple of them, yeah. You'll see my name in a few of those.
I mean, Tom LaRock, classic Miami DJ, classic. And although he's from New York, I mean, he really helped build up our scene, especially on the beach. He was spinning the early 90s on the beach, really repping. So the Flavor Station.
For his radio station back then.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, man. So what can you tell us about the Flavor Station?
Well, the Flavor Station was Roll Up's brainchild. He wanted to open a business. He wanted to do something in hip hop. So he brought this logo from New York. It's the F train in New York, and he kind of put an idea behind it and opened up the Flavor Station downtown Miami, across from the college. Yeah. Gear, shoes, sweats, pants, everything. Kind of place to be at the time.
No doubt. And obviously you're doing the club flyers, groups like Smith & Wesson. I mean, this right here, look at this flyer, y'all. If you know what time it is, DJ Craze, Tom LaRock, and Coupe de Ville. Yeah. All right? 1306 North Miami Avenue with the white room. I mean, this is classic. You know what I'm saying?
So it's a lot of history, not only, not just because of the designs or whatever and who did it, but, look where they're at, the places they did them at. A lot of those places don't exist no more.
Yeah. I mean, this is entering into Wynwood right there. You're just getting into Wynwood. Overtown, Mm-hmm. Again, I mean, girls free till 12, guys for 5. You already know what time it is.
He actually didn't use that design. He went with another design, but that was kind of the one we come up with at the time. The Showstoppers is Roll Up. That was kind of the Flavor Station thing. He come up with a new thing called Showstopper. A lot of stuff with Tony. He would come down. This is the original photo of this was Mark Bodie. I don't know if everybody should be familiar with Von Bodie, but this is his son Mark Bodie, and he was originally sitting there with a wood cutout of Cheech Wizard. So got inspired one day, and I kind of 3D'ized him a little bit, and sent it to him, and he liked it. He's like, "Yo, appreciate it, man. It's pretty dope." I didn't know it at the time, but then he made it his Facebook cover, and that kind of stayed there for a long time. But I was because my first pieces coming up, I did a lot of his dad, with the characters, and now to him with one of my pieces of art on his page was like, wow, that's pretty dope.
Right, like with the Amos City, that was a lot of Von Bodie inspired characters. I mean, and right here, more Miami history. I mean, this is Nori. Now with our partner DJ EFN, Drink Champs, right here in your face, you're designing all these flyers. And there's the Facebook shot you're talking about.
Yeah, there it is.
Dope.
So, you know, that was a while back.
And so now you continue to do pieces in the digital realm. What was the transition like going from walls to, you know, walls to airbrush to Miami based to now you're working in the digital realm doing graffiti all over again?
You know, again, thing, live and adapt, man. Time, things change, technology changes, so you either keep up with it or you get left behind. So at this time, when I did this one, this was for an art show at a school I was teaching at, and it was for you know, it was in a gallery, so it had to be on canvas. So I did the piece, put it together, and then I had the canvas printed. I don't know if you can see it. It's right there. So I thought it looked pretty
And
cool
you can
being it was
see
printed on canvas.
you can see there's a shadow of a Baudet character there, but it can't. It's hard to see it on the screen, but I can see it in person there.
Teach with it. It's
Yep.
meant to be
Right.
another TMS piece. So, you know, this doing it digitally kind of gave me a lot more tools to be able to create faster and cleaner. So I didn't have to go through all like the, you know, sketching with pencils and stuff and then erasing and whatnot. And I could change colors on the fly rather than, you know, you put a design marker to paper and that's it. You can't use that. But digitally, if I wanted that green instead of yellow, I could just change a filter on it and boom, color's done.
Word.
So,
What program are you using when you do this kind of work?
Photoshop.
This is all Photoshop.
Yeah, it's all Photoshop.
So are you drawing with a pad? Are you just using a mouse? How are you doing the work?
I got a digital pad, which gives me a pen.
Okay.
It's like, you know, it's like drawing on paper, but you're doing it digitally. So the pen gives you a lot more freer control as opposed to just a mouse.
Mm-hmm.
You do your hand styles and freestyles or whatever.
And this reminds me of your airbrush work again.
Yeah, it's kind of reminiscent of that. It's still digital. This was actually printed for, again, another art show. We printed this, I think it was like 24 inches. I forget what the hell happened to it, but it ended up nice and it looked really good. Bright colors. That was for, I forget what. But eventually it found its way. Where's that? There it goes. Found its way onto my piece. I think it's the girl was from a comic book. I forget the comic book. But she actually was wearing a lot more clothes than that.
Oh, I hear you. So what is the Star Wars work you're getting involved in now?
This is just digital painting. So my specialty where I work at is matte painting, where we create, you know, backgrounds and whatnot. So this is me just getting more into the painterly stuff, trying to render more photorealistically. These are characters from Star Wars. I didn't do the characters in Star Wars; they had already been done. This, obviously, the guy from Ratatouille that I turned into. Oh man, what's his name? The bad guy on the Death Star. That was like.
Oh, yeah, I catch it. Yep. Yo, so real quick, man, before we keep going, yo, this is the Miami Homestead legend, the one and only DJ TMS, Too Much Soul, the Master Scratch. Y'all don't want none, so don't ask for any because he will deliver and show you what time it is. We just have a few more minutes to rock and learn more about our brother right here. Thank you so much for supporting. Purchase a badge to keep this story going because people need to hear, man. These are the lost stories. We just learned about Homestead hip hop history. I learned mad things that I never knew. So thank you so much, T. We're going to continue learning about your digital rendering here before we get out. But if you got questions for our brother, drop them in the chat.
Yeah, so these are character silhouettes. A lot of what I teach is, you know, for game art and concept art for movies. So one of the phases or stages that you go through is silhouetting characters, where you don't spend a lot of time to develop them. You just kind of give them good profile silhouettes, and if they pick them, then you start, you know, the rendering process.
Mm-hmm. And are you going from a photo? Or are you creating this without a template? How does that whole work begin from beginning to end?
Well, some do. Like for this one, I used a photo reference of a subway car, and then the character I kind of just freehanded the character, but I would take pictures of myself in like poses. So to get him, you know, to make it look like he's actually holding on to something, I hung a pole and I held onto the pole and took a picture of myself. But this is Mr. Robot. That was a big series on TV for a while.
Mm-hmm.
Cheech Bodie.
What is it that you think? What's your opinion on why Cheech Wizard is so special to graffiti? Not because so many other people have done it, but what is it about? What about Cheech Wizard's work inspires you?
His style. It was his style. You know, these books were made to be painted on walls. Point blank. Mm-hmm. You know, they look good in print, but they looked even better, you know, 6 feet tall, 40 feet wide. So.
And somebody dropped in the chat, they were asking, where do you teach, you know, where do you teach? How can people learn from you directly?
I teach at Lynn University in the College of Communication and Design. So if you want to, you know, look up the school there, definitely look up our program where I teach game art and 3D animation. So yeah, I'm a big.
Do you also do private lessons?
I could, but it takes a lot of dedication to do stuff like that. Not on my part, you know, on the student's part. Mm-hmm. A lot of the stuff that I teach is fundamental, and a lot of times students, they want to just go straight to the end and be like, no, I want to be a superstar today. I'm like, no, you got to learn how to draw circles. Squares first. Oh.
And do these, being that you're working on a computer, does that speed up the process? It looks so detailed sometimes. Can you like copy and paste that spine, for example, and you know, can the program help you make it easier, or is it just as much as drawing by hand?
Yeah. So yeah, like draw one piece and then duplicate. Different medium, easier to work in. It's faster to forget. Mm-hmm. It might be a little, but
can you hear me, T? Can you hear me?
There's like.
Can you hear me? 1 2 1 2.
I hear you.
Okay, cool. So I have, can you see on the screen right now, we have one of your backgrounds for a game, it looks like?
Yeah, that's a matte painting. So what that is that's a lot of photographic elements that are combined with hand-painted elements. So okay. That place doesn't exist. It's all like the river is the Grand Canyon. The plane is like some plane in Utah. The mountains are from Hawaii. The planet was free-handed in. The clouds were all free-handed in.
So you're taking real elements that exist and bringing them all together in one space and creating your own planet.
Same thing here. There's probably about 20 different photos all combined into this.
And I apologize about the glare. It's kind of hard for them to really enjoy it, but I mean, this is brilliant. Brilliant. See, there's a little town over here.
That's That's Tibet. And on the right, Japanese. So I found online some random lake. Yeah, with matte painting, we need to try to be as photoreal as possible. And a tutorial I took my students through, where we would take one image and turn it into something else. So that's the Empire State Building on the left. And then the lesson was to make it post-apocalyptic. So the final result is the one on the right.
Wow.
So you can, the movies, video games. We would animate certain elements in that, like the water flowing and the clouds moving. But a lot of the background stuff you see in movies these days is all digital.
So has your work been featured in movies? Have you ever done work for movies or video games that have actually been featured?
I haven't done movies. I've done some commercial work in Miami. I worked with a company called Zimmerman Advertising for a while. Mm-hmm. So they have their biggest client is Nissan, so I did some stuff for them. I got some concept art for a couple of games. Some didn't make it to fruition. Some are still on NDA, so I can't really talk a lot about it. But yeah, as a professor in a college, we tend to need to stay working because we got a lot of free time on our hands. So outside of school, I do whatever. So this is a before and after. The top is the sketch, and the bottom is the final matte painting.
Wow, the bottom looks like a real photograph.
Thank you.
It really does. I mean, let's see if we can zoom in and take a look.
If you've ever been to Hawaii, some of those mountains look familiar. But yeah, man, it was like I said, it was my next step to go. I'm still going with it. I'm trying to develop some new ideas with it. I got something I'm working on. I can't really talk too much about, but it does kind of spur along the lines of graffiti. So when it's at the point where I can talk about it, I can definitely fill you in on that.
I would love to learn about it. I'm sure everybody out here in the Museum of Graffiti world would love to hear about it too. So here, are you designing weapons for a video game? Is that what this is?
These are just student examples, or not student examples, but example students in my game art course. If you go back one, those. So these silhouetted designs I showed them how to do, and what we would do is put them in the. So if you can, I don't know if you can zoom in, but if you look down at the bottom, there's a tiny little dot, and that little dot represents a human scale character. So the actual size of that spaceship is 1.5 long. So we built that and we put it into the Unreal Engine, into a game engine, and we made it an actual 1.5 long. It's just immense.
Oh, wow.
Wow. So, it's cool stuff to be able to take your two-dimensional designs and turn them into a three-dimensional reality, and to look around at it. And then we, incorporate that using VR. So you can put the goggles on, you walk into the space, and it's almost like you're right there.
So when are you gonna recreate the virtual experience to all of the pennants from Miami?
Well, like I said, I can't really speak on too much of that yet.
Okay. I'm with you. I hear you. We're on the same wavelength, my brother T.
Yeah, this is just some more 3D work examples that I've done.
And this is the Master Scratch Homestead Pioneer. Yo, thank you so much for rocking with us, T. What do you have some like final words for the people? If you have any questions out there in the chat, drop it. I mean, this is legendary. This is the real homestead information. This is the Miami Bass channel. This is all of that. Drop it in the chat so we can find out. In other words, T, anything else you'd like to share with us before we get out of here?
I'm good, man. I just want to thank you for having me today, and appreciate it. And, you know, kind of feel humbled considering the names that you had on, you know, I looked through that YouTube channel. I'm like, wow, it's a lot of dope names in this. So appreciate you making me part of that. And it's good to talk to you again.
Man, TMS, it's a blessing to have you on our show. Thank y'all so much for joining us. Everybody in the house, big up my brother Dun One. I see you, Mex. I see you out there. It's awesome for all the brothers to come through and keep representing, keep supporting real hip hop culture. Make sure you slide down to the Museum of Graffiti in Wynwood and support what we got going on. If you know any young people 14 years old or younger, we got free art classes every Sunday at the Museum of Graffiti, 10 a.m. And yo, much love. Let's hear that low ride bass. Give us something from that record, man. Give us that voice. How's that go?
Oh man, Go check it out, man. Yo, what's up, man? Yo, I got the new skis mobile, bro. Word, guys, word.
Peace. That's official. That's original. We out of here. One love. Peace.